त्यागेश्वरं रामकृष्णं शारदां मातृरूपिणीं विवेकानन्दमाचार्यं नत्वा वक्ष्यामि श्रद्धया। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च भैषजेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. In our last class we discussed how commentator Vyasa establishes the fact of rebirth based on that klesha called abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is clinging to life or fear of death. May I live forever like that. May I never cease to exist. Every being has this. And he says that to have this fear, we should have had experience. But in this life, we have not had experience of death. So fear of death establishes the fact that we have had experiences of death in our previous births. And those experiences are, so to say, manifesting in fear of death. We must have experienced death in earlier lives. And that experience manifests as fear of death in this life. Otherwise, we cannot explain this fear of death, which is present even in a learned person. Vidushopi tatha rudha and swarasavahi. Like attraction, we enjoy something, we get experience, and then raga comes, attachment comes for a person who has already experienced the pleasure. Dvesha comes to a person who has already experienced misery. But where does abhinivesha come from? Which experience does abhinivesha come from? Unless we accept earlier births and earlier experiences of death, this abhinivesha cannot be explained. So that is the logic that commentator uses, and we saw how the instinct theory doesn't prove. On the contrary, it proves that we had experience, because experience is nothing but coalesced, or instinct is nothing but coalesced experience. So if we say fear of death is an instinct, it means that we have had innumerable experiences which have coalesced into instinct. So instinct theory is in favor of the fact of or law of reincarnation. The theory of hereditary transmission also doesn't prove all the facts. We discussed that. So the considered or a balanced view would be a soul comes into the world with a baggage of impressions, never with a clean slate. And it finds such environment, which includes parents also, which will be most congenial for manifestations of those traits, of those samskaras. So that way, heredity also is factored in. It will seek such parents, that soul will seek such parents. And also the environment where its tendencies can be manifested. So that is how it can be reconciled. Then we saw this yogic way of destruction of kleshas, afflictions, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, and avidya, asmita. What is the path to completely destroy them? And with the example of, Bhashyakara gives the example of washing clothes. He says the gross dirt can be got rid of by just shaking the clothes. So also the gross states of kleshas can be controlled through Kriya Yoga. Tapasvadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. Through that, the manifested states of kleshas can be subdued and attenuated. Tanu Karanam. That's what will Kriya Yoga do. These attenuated, weakened, Tanukruta kleshas, these can be further processed, like the cloth washing it with water and striking it against the stone through dhyana. Dhyana heyas tadvrattaya. Through dhyana, meditation leading up to prasankhya, that is the knowledge. These tanukrita kleshas can be reduced to the state of dagdhabijavastha, state of burned seed state, so to say. These kleshas which have been attenuated by Kriya Yoga can be turned into burned seed stage through meditation leading up to prasankhya. And then the finest form of dirt, it can only be removed by some chemicals like soap or whatever, kshara. So these, in the same way, these burnt seed stage of kleshas or kleshas in the burnt seed stage, these can be got rid of through pratiprasava. Te pratiprasavaheyaha sukshmaha. That is when in the asampragnata yoga, the mind resolves back into its own cause, called prakriti. It is only then that the kleshas can be completely destroyed. There is difference between destruction and burning out. Knowledge will burn the kleshas, make them not give results, but they are not destroyed. According to this yogic school, it is only pratiprasava or pralaya of the mind back into prakriti which will destroy these kleshas. So that is their plan of action, so to say. Kriya Yoga, dhyana leading up to prasankhya or knowledge, and pralaya or pratiprasava which happens in asampragnata yoga. That is how kleshas can be destroyed. The next subject is why are we so bent on getting rid of these kleshas and how do they contribute to this whole samsara chakra and all that? That he tells, and in the process he also establishes the law of karma. Law of incarnation was established in earlier sutra. Here he establishes the law of karma, action-reaction, law of action and reaction. So that will be the subject for next few sutras, where he says, Klesha mulaha karmashayaha drishta drishta janma vedaniyaha. Klesha mulaha karmashayaha drishta adrishta janma vedaniyaha. Here sutra defines or gives characteristic of karmashaya. This is a new term introduced. We are familiar with kleshas. Kleshas are the drives, afflictions, starting with ignorance, ego, then attraction, hatred, clinging to life. These 5 afflictions, those are the kleshas. We are familiar with them. Karmashaya is the new term introduced, and that's what is being talked of here. This karmashaya, we'll see what it is. It is klesha mula. It has its mula, it has its roots, it has its causes, it has its source in kleshas. So karmashaya is that which is caused by kleshas, which sprouts, so to say, from kleshas. Klesha are the mula, roots, causes. That is on one side. And other side, drishta adrishta janma vedaniya. Vedaniya means to be experienced. Vedaniya means to be experienced. So drishta janma vedaniya and adrishta janma vedaniya. Drishta adrishta janma vedaniya. Drishta janma means seen life. That is this life. So to be experienced in this life is drishta janma vedaniya. To be experienced in unseen life, adrishta janma, that is future life, is adrishta janma vedaniya. So this karmashaya is to be experienced either in this life or in the next life. That's what the sutra says. Karmashaya has its roots, causes in kleshas, and it is to be experienced either in this life or in the next life. Now we come to what is this karmashaya. So this word is translated vehicle of karma or receptacle of karma. There are many translations for this word. Receptacle of karma, it's collection of karmas. Few points we have to understand in this. See, any action we perform, either it be mental action or physical action, any action we perform, it leaves a mark on our or in our psyche or in our antahkarana, in our mind. This is a fact. Any action we perform, whether it is mental or physical, it leaves an impression, a mark in our mind. That mark is called samskara. Samskara is nothing but this mark, this impression left by our own actions, mental or physical. And these samskaras, they are left or created by actions. In future or subsequently, they become the impelling force or guiding force for future actions. From actions, samskaras are generated, and from samskaras, actions originate, you can say. These very samskaras will guide and impel future actions. And hence, as Swamiji says, a human being, character of a human being is nothing but sum total of the samskaras. How a person will react in a given situation, the samskaras will define. And that is why various persons, different persons react differently to the same situation, because their samskaras are different. And these samskaras, they have accumulated themselves through their repeated actions, mental or physical. This actually is a very liberating doctrine in the sense, if there are certain parts of my character which I want to improve, I have to know that what is today is the result of my own thoughts and actions. And since it is the result of my own thoughts and actions, I can change it. That's why this fact of samskaras is a liberating fact. Our character is nothing but this bundle of samskaras. And these samskaras, the impressions left by our own thoughts and actions, they dictate our present conduct, no doubt. But we have the capacity to change that by creating different kinds of samskaras. So it's a very liberating doctrine, so to say. Now, all our actions can be divided into broadly two categories. One are actions that are prompted by kleshas, actions that are prompted by attraction, attachment, hatred, fear and all that. We can call them selfish actions. And then there are actions which are prompted by noble emotions, so to say. Actions prompted out of pure love of God or a genuinely altruistic feeling, compassion, selflessness, attitude of service. These are the two types of actions. All our actions can be categorized into two. Selfish actions, actions that are prompted by kleshas. Unselfish actions that are not prompted by kleshas. Both these actions leave their samskaras in our mind. Now the samskaras left by selfish actions. They are called karmashaya. Karmashaya is nothing but a basket or receptacle of samskaras left by klishta karma, or the actions prompted by kleshas. Out of attachment, out of greed, out of hatred, whatever we think, whatever we perform, all those actions leave their mark, leave their samskaras. These samskaras together, they are called karmashaya. The samskaras left by unselfish actions, they do not form part of karmashaya. They are not called karmashaya. But it is only the samskaras created by selfish actions, created by actions prompted by kleshas. They are called karmashaya. So now you see the first part of this sutra, klesha mulaha karmashaya. This karmashaya is caused by kleshas, because it is only the actions performed by kleshas which leave samskaras, which together are called karmashaya. And in every of these samskaras, that klesha which prompted that particular action is involved, so to say. So every samskara left by an action prompted by, say, attachment, will have attachment embedded in it. That samskara will have attachment embedded in it. So also the samskaras created by actions which are prompted by hate will have that klesha embedded in it. That's how karmashaya is, so to say, a bundle of samskaras left by actions embodying the klesha. This is one part of it. The other fact that we should understand is, whenever any action is performed under the influence of a klesha, be it raga, dvesha, bhaya, whichever, that action, whether mental or physical, has the potential to generate merit or demerit, depending on if the action is virtuous or vicious. Whenever a virtuous action is performed under the influence of a klesha, a merit is generated. A person performs puja with a desire to get something. That whole action will coalesce into an impression. That impression will have the klesha, the attachment for whatever result that action was performed for. And it will also have some merit attached to it. So that samskara, which is left by these selfish actions, will have the kleshas embedded in it, and they will also have some merit or demerit attached to it. And this whole basket, this whole bundle, is called karmashaya. If a vicious action is performed under the influence of dvesha, that action will leave an impression. That he is telling, they come to us in three forms: jati, ayu, bhoga. Jati is the species in which a soul is born, ayu is the span of life, and bhoga are the experiences. So these three are the results of this karmashaya. Vipaka means fruition. Sati mule tad vipaka. That vipaka, the fruition of this karmashaya, will happen in these three forms, in these three types, in these three ways, called jati, ayu and bhoga. With this, and the sati mule part is like, mula is karmashaya, mula is kleshas. So when kleshas are present, only then karmashaya will fructify and bring out the results in the form of species, lifespan and life experiences. Only when kleshas are present, sati mule sati, when kleshas are present, karmashya will fructify in the form of species, lifespan and life experiences. So we'll see in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.